Happy Adams. Today, welcome to the banks of the Chesapeake Bay on a beautiful piece of land we refer to as the Moore property, the former home of one Dr. Parlett Moore, a longtime educator in locations across the state of Maryland, to include being president of both Coppin State University and Phi Beta Sigma fraternity. Perhaps because of his father was a Chesapeake Bay steamboat captain, he was inspired to, upon his retirement, settle right here. A fortuitous development, especially for those of us determined to write a more complete narrative of the history of Annapolis. I'd like to recognize some people that are with us today. First, we have the Honorable former Governor Paris Glendening. Thank you. And Zeus, who's a killer, watch out. We have Bill Crouch with us with the Conservation Fund. Yay. Honorable Dana Jones, the Honorable Shanika Henson, this is their district, 30A. The Honorable Rhonda Pindell Charles. Yay. The Honorable Ross Arnett. The Honorable Sheila Finlayson. I do want to acknowledge the Honorable Rob Savage, who unfortunately had a previously commitment where he could not be here today. He had a previously planned vacation, but he is so excited about this project. The Honorable Lisa Rodvian, Anne Arundel County Council, Ward 6. This is her home area. Jessica Cook, on behalf of our friend Ben, the Honorable Ben Cardin. The Honorable Carl Snowden. All right, and before we get to the particulars, let me also first recognize the Anne Arundel County Executive, Mr. Stuart Pittman, whom without his support and the county's support, none of this would have been able to occur. So thank you. Also with us is another one of my favorite people. I'll talk about later about him being the catalyst for this project, but he kept the engine running on this project and made all the pieces of this huge project happen. My and our Annapolis Mayor, Mayor Gavin Buckley. And I have to just tell you, he marshaled an army of amazing people to make this happen. What brings us here today is the continuation of a long journey, one that began some 15 years ago or more when Vince Leggett, the catalyst, began persuading his friend Theo Rogers to hold on to a parcel of undeveloped waterfront property, which at one time was the destination of choice for African American beachgoers and music fans, including my mother, my aunt, and my uncle. They were among those beachgoers. You see, for 50 years during the 20th century, this area was the epicenter for blacks wanting to swim and enjoy the sun, or hear one of their favorite acts like Chuck Berry, Sarah Vaughan, Cab Calloway, Ella Fitzgerald, Stevie Wonder, The Godfather, also known as the hardest working man in show business, James Brown. Carr's Beach was founded in 1926 as the first of a precious few beachfront resorts that catered to African Americans during segregation, because we were barred from using any of the nearby whites-only beaches. Blacks established our own traditions for recreation and commerce right here, and Carr's Beach drew thousands from Baltimore, the Eastern Shore, Washington, D.C., all across the region. The crowds that gathered here at Carr's, Sparrows, and Elktonia beaches were a testament to the resilience of African Americans and serve as a shining example of the determination of our ancestors to create better lives for themselves and generations to come. Fast forward to the present day, during this Black History Month, as we celebrate the acquisition of this property, which sits adjacent to the land designated to be preserved and transformed into a living museum and monument to those who have come before. Dr. Parlett Moore was born in Wicomico County, Maryland, and would later serve as high school principal on the Eastern Shore, a principal at 2 Montgomery County secondary schools, and the second president of what was then Coppin State College in Baltimore. After decades of molding young minds, Dr. Moore retreated to his home here in Annapolis many a day. He passed in 2000 at the age of 92. Perhaps Dr. Moore knew early on what studies of today have proven. Breathing in fresh air and taking in beautiful vistas such as this, also known as forest bathing, an ancient Japanese practice known as Shinrin-yoku, decreases your blood pressure, decreases your stress, boosts health and well-being, and extends your life. Now, Annapolitans and others will be able to partake for years to come, decades to come, with this acquisition. Because of its proximity to the Carr's Elktonia properties, Dr. Moore's land holds great significance to the partners who've been working these past few years to preserve this chapter of Maryland history. In fact, since the city acquired Elktonia in 2022, Mayor Buckley and the Chesapeake Conservancy's Joel Dunn were determined to secure the Moore property if it were to become available and integrate the entire site into a planned heritage park, complete with a visitor center. Now, I don't know what kind of magic or sorcery the mayor conjured up, but let's just say the stars aligned, because that's in fact what happened. In hindsight, I'm sure it was divine intervention. The new, larger site will be managed by the Annapolis Recreation and Parks Department, and I'd like to introduce myself as the director, Rosalind Johnson. And it will serve as the home for Blacks of the Chesapeake, in addition to restoring public access to this storied beachfront. Now that you have a little background, let's hear from Vince Leggett, the executive director of Blacks of the Chesapeake, who has dedicated his life to lifting up the accomplishments of African Americans who have lived and worked along the Chesapeake Bay. It's safe to say we wouldn't be here today without his cataclysmic vision of preserving one of the last remaining tracts of African American owned land on the shores of the bay. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Vince Leggett.
Where you at? Come here. Well, thank you, Miss Rosalind Johnson, and welcome you to Annapolis and to the Annapolis family. You have really made a difference thus far. My good colleague, Carr Snowden, and myself, we got together in January in Dee and passed a resolution with the caucus of African American leaders about collaboration, moving forward, and just having all hands on board. And thank you for the recognition that you also received up at Maryland Live, and you've really made a difference, and we look forward to working with you and your entire team. Before I get too far, I'd just like to recognize your staff. They came out and turned a pig's ear into a silk purse. Look how fabulous this place looks. Y'all guys, really great job, and I just told the whole team if I didn't thank anybody, I was going to make sure I thank you all for the effort. Even our neighbors over at Baywood and Village of Chesapeake Harbor have complimented us how well things look, and that was one thing. People wanted to make sure whatever went here was managed properly, and I think we have the right team. I'll just start there on this line with Joel Dunn. I mean, we walked hand in hand on this project from the beginning. Thank you and the entire team. There's so often when it comes to African American history and heritage, people want to know whether you have gold star stickers and the size of your bank account and whether you have flagship boards. I mean, we're just a group of people that's just trying to lift up a downtrodden people. We might not have all of the glitter and shine as some, but one thing that we try to do is do things decent and in order and in spirit and in truth. And my grandmama said, Vincent, if you could operate in the four corners of that page, decent and in order, in spirit and in truth, let the ball fall where the ball falls, and I can wake up every day thinking that we've left it all on the field. Stuart Pittman, I mean, we all have South County connections, and he's been a big influence and encourager. But hip, hip, hooray for Gavin Buckley. Yes. that I was the Black History speaker on Monday over at Baywoods, and they told the story, Tina and Howard and those, how they kind of buttonholed the mayor 3 years ago. He was going around with these books called Call Me Little Willie. They thought he was Little Willie. He knew, look, he knows so much about Little Willie. Every time you turn around, he had a shopping bag with Call Me Little Willie books on it, and just kind of got everybody roped into this whole effort to let's get out here and preserve a part of history. I serve as the citizens representative on the Chesapeake Bay Commission, representing Speaker Adrian Jones and President Bill Ferguson as the citizen representative on the Bay Commission, and our Governor Moore serves as the Executive Council Chairman of the Chesapeake Bay Group. And the whole idea is to continue to elevate and have this bay, your bay, our bay, all bay. And what I say in conclusion here is, this complex is more than just a push pin in a map or a dot on a map. We've been able to preserve the sand, the beach, and the water, and the dirt, and tell the story of Black life on the Chesapeake Bay from an authentic space. And so for that, we're just grateful. We thank our whole team. My wife, Dina, AJ, we got representatives from the Lipstick Mafia up here. You'll be able to pick them out of the crowd. They're some of our big boosters and fundraisers. And I see my friend Deanie Henson. Deanie was with us in 2007, Warren to Stansbury. Deanie Henson, Lyle Smith walked up and down here. We had the vision, but we didn't have 20. Over to the Mistress of Ceremonies, and thank you all.
Thank you, Vince. What a tough act to follow. I do want to just make you aware of these booklets that are in your chairs. These are some amazing booklets that tell the history and how we kind of got here today and why this property is so important. More importantly, there is what I think is one of the best videos I've watched, and I watch a lot of videos every week, but it's definitely one of the best videos I've watched. So just click on this QR code. It'll take you right to the video. You might notice a familiar voice. Our own Will Rao is in the video. Thank you to Julian and Mitchell for pulling this amazing piece together so that people will really understand the importance of us being here today. Vince, you already thanked my staff. I'll get you for that later. I just want to underscore that this property did not look like this. And our team back there swooped in, they made it happen, and I'm only more excited about what's going to happen in the future here. So thank you, Vince. We're now one step closer to preserving this park to serve in perpetuity for future generations. Please know that Recreation and Parks looks forward to working with you to create a state-of-the-art educational, environmental, and cultural heritage as a space that pays homage to the past while guiding our path into the future. And representation matters. I think we can all agree about that. I do want to acknowledge Delegate Shanika Henson and Delegate Dana Jones again. They were in session, and so they had to rush here, and so they're doing double, triple, probably quadruple duty. So thank you for making it here. We can give them a round of applause. And a little birdie told me that way back during the pandemic, Mayor Buckley hopped on his bike and rode to a certain person's house, and we all know him for hopping on his bike, right? And riding to a certain person's house in an effort to persuade him to jump on board for this project. He said the mayor was so passionate about preserving Carr's Beach that there was no way he could just say anything, and he couldn't say no. So just knowing the good work of the Chesapeake Conservancy, I know it was a natural fit for Joel Dunn and his team. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Joel Dunn.
Thank you so much, Rosalind, and we're so happy to have you here. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you very much for joining us on this wonderful occasion. I wanted to thank you again, Vince. When I was a little kid, I had this guy come up to me and he grabbed my shirt collar and he said, if you have a vision and you can communicate that vision to others and find the resources to make it happen, you can do anything. And that's what Vince has done and the mayor's done. You know, they had a vision. They communicated that vision to others, and we found the resources to make it happen as a team. And I just want to give you another round of applause for that effort. So I run the Chesapeake Conservancy, and I love the vision that Vince and others have for this place. I wanted to thank Mayor Buckley in particular for persuading me to get involved. It was fun to have a mayor come to your house, you know. It's pretty cool. But I also want to thank the Conservation Fund. Bill Crouch is here. He's the Maryland director of the Conservation Fund, and Terry Zaleski, she's the Maryland representative. And they're the kind of quiet heroes of this project. They did the tough real estate negotiations, and it was quite extraordinary what they've been able to do. So current and future generations are going to benefit from that effort and learn about Black history here, and they'll be able to enjoy the Chesapeake Bay as a result of your hard work. I wanted to thank the staff of the Chesapeake Conservancy, Mark Conway, our executive vice presidents here, Jody Kauser, JT Dean. We wouldn't be able to accomplish anything as an organization without a wonderful staff. So this was really made possible through a patchwork of effort, a team effort. Anne Arundel County and Stuart Pittman continues to the Merrill Family Foundation, the France Merrick Foundation, the William L. and Victorine Q. Adams Foundation, and the Dovana Foundation. So thank you to all those donors for helping make that happen. It's just extraordinary how they stepped up. So our mission is to protect and restore cultural places like this in the Chesapeake Bay. This is really the example of what we do as an organization, so we're proud to have participated. This is really the nexus of the past, the present, and the future. And it's a special place that connects us with nature and culture, and it will fuel the wisdom and compassion that our society, our community needs now and in the future. And these stories that occurred here it's been left untold for too long, at least to many of us. And so this Black history will not be a footnote, never should have been, but it won't be ever moving forward. And one last thing, the Chesapeake Bay shoreline, only 2 or 3% of it is publicly accessible of the 12,000 miles of shoreline. So this is a really important opportunity for people to reach the shores of the bay, to fall in love with the bay, to pour their passion into the bay moving forward. I brought my little kids here, and they didn't stop talking about it for days. So on behalf of the Chesapeake Conservancy and everybody I represent, I want to thank everybody for making this day possible. I'm proud to be a partner. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joel. You and the Chesapeake Conservancy have played an invaluable role in protecting this land and in making this property accessible to the public, as you so aptly pointed out. Next, I'd like to bring up Delegate Dana Jones. I would like to say that Senator Sarah Elfreth was on her way, but she has to vote, and we want her to vote. Delegate Dana Jones, who also has been a champion of state investment in our parks and the conservation of Maryland's waterways. Delegate Jones.
Thank you, Director. Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Black History Month. What an amazing celebration. I want to thank, this is really honestly the true definition of what teamwork looks like. We talk about teamwork a lot in our work, but this is really the end result of it. And I am so incredibly proud to be one of the many that helped do this. So I can't thank this team enough, honestly. But in true Sarah, the senator could not be with us, and many of you see my mom tennis shoes as I ran from the floor, as Delegate Henson as well. And I have to go, unfortunately, I have to leave immediately in order to preside over appropriations, health and social services. But it was important to be here. The public access money that went into all of our projects together and so much more. The city of Annapolis, in order to acquire the more property, is truly a moment that really does. I think Joel said it best when he said the past, the present, and the future. It's so critical to have this public access to the water and retell the stories and the history. So I just want to thank everyone for being here. And again, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Jones, and thank you, Delegate Henson, for both being here today. We appreciate you so much, and thanks for fighting for Annapolis on the circle. So we appreciate you. Next, we will hear from Wesley Wood, a member of the Maryland Commission on African American History and Culture.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Maryland Commission on African American History and Culture, I bring greetings and acknowledgement to the incredible work of this group of partners who have worked tirelessly to preserve the rich history of Carr's Beach. Blacks of the Chesapeake, Chesapeake Conservancy, our state government partners, and the City of Annapolis, all of you deserve to be commended for working together to get this done. The Elktonia Carr's Beach Heritage Park is a milestone in Black history in our state's capital and will keep alive the history of Black entrepreneurship, music, and culture for those of us living in the present day and those who will come after us. Thank you to Director Vincent Leggett, the Office of the Governor, Mayor Gavin Buckley, the Office of County Executive Stuart Pittman, and the Annapolis Recreation and Parks Department for all of your support to make this dream into a reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from our very own County Executive, Mr. Stuart Pittman.
So I have a bad habit of being honest and transparent. We have budget season where we're trying to put all the pieces together, and I was really excited that we got the property next door here. And when Gavin and Joel and Vince all started teaming up on me and harassing me, I thought we were done with this. I thought we'd already, contributed the money. And you know what? If we get this, then we're going to have to fix it up. And then there's going to be more money. And I mean, just so much money. And but here I am. It was last year in the budget. At the end, you look at all the pieces and you put the puzzle together and you're doing the math. And Chris Trumbauer's complaining, and my budget officer. But actually, Chris Trumbauer was very, very supportive of this. And then it was one of those ones where we put it in at the end, and I felt really, really, really good about it.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, Stuart. Yes.
and I know you'll be back, but but part of the reason I felt so good about it is not just that I share the mayor's vision, and I respect how hard he works to get these things done. And same thing with Joel. He comes to us on a lot of other projects, and we're working on a lot of land preservation with the Chesapeake Conservancy on our 530 miles of coast and throughout our county, really, and have had some great successes. But Vince Leggett, I have been talking to Vince about this and about the work of the Blacks of the Chesapeake and their need for a location to operate out of for 5 years. And I've never been able to deliver for you, and I've always felt bad. There's never been that way to really get it done. And Blacks of the Chesapeake is such an important organization. And the thought that they will be housed here, hopefully in something a little bit more modern, but housed here on the water at this site is the potential of what's going to happen, what could happen here is really, really, really exciting. So you got a lot of people, you got a lot of outliving to do, because it'll take 20 years to get it all done. But it's a part of the history of the Bay that is not talked about enough. And people think of the Bay as a place for white folks to go out on their boats, or white folks to have, $5 million mansions on the water, which is why so much of the land is in private ownership. But the history of the Bay is so much deeper than that. And when you think about black history on this water, from the very first ships who came in to Annapolis, to the folks who escaped from the Eastern Shore on boats to get away from enslavement, to the watermen who worked here, and some still do, to the folks that are actually boat owners and owners of $5 million, black folks, owners of $5 million homes on the water and yachts. The history is not just white. And it's important that we tell it. So I am really excited, not just about this acquisition, but about what this is going to look like in a few years. And I know that it's going to cost money, and that we're all going to continue this partnership to get it done.
Thank you, Mr. County Executive. And I'm happy that I work in a county with a county executive who gets it. And not only does he get it, he walks it, he talks it, he knows it, and he helps make it happen. The next person that's coming up, I met him probably about a year ago, a little bit less than, no, a year ago. And he told me about this great idea he had and what was in progress. And I thought, this man's, he's got some big goals. I don't know. Then when I got here and I saw the budget and I was like, well, how's he going to make this happen? Talk about the faith of a mustard seed. But our mayor has really pulled this whole entire piece together. As I mentioned earlier, you really can't tell him no, but you know that you can't tell him no because what he's talking about is so worthwhile. And you see his vision and you want to support him and you want to help make it happen. And then before you know it, you're part of his vision and then you're working really hard. And all of a sudden you're here today to introduce him and to thank him for the amazing work that he's done. We will be turning over 8 acres of property to all kinds of people, no matter where they live, what they look like, what their job is. And that's because of our mayor, Mayor Gavin Buckley. Please welcome him.
I can't believe I'm here today. This is amazing, and it's only been 2 years since, and I want to thank Baywoods, and if the Baywoods people could stand up, whoever's here from Baywoods, to just get a round of applause. I walked into a meeting with Alderman Savage. I got the sense from the room that they didn't want 42 homes here, and they didn't want these trees taken down, and the next day, I came with William Rao over there. You look behind you. He got the turtleneck memo I put out today. Apparently, Will's dad got a lot of action at Carr's Beach. He was telling me when we were at that visit. So, and we went to work. And it started by knocking on Joel's door with this. They call me Little William. Just to be clear, that's not my nickname. Right? And then, I'm just a white boy from Australia, but we don't have anything as cool as this where I come from. And so before I launch into the little bit that I know, I want to just say a huge thank you, because it doesn't happen without the team that is in front of us. First of all, I've got to thank my city council for supporting $500,000 that was the seed money for this project. And of course, our county executive, and I can't thank the Chesapeake Conservancy enough, because, I'd watched the work that they've done on Quiet Waters Park, to acquire a lot of acreage there to expand that park. And I went to Joel and said, Joel, help me do what you did for the county to expand that park and get this property under the control of the city. And then Joel went to work on that. And then when we looked at this property here, which currently looks like a meth lab, but if you've been inside, and I remember coming to the property, and I always thought some redneck owned this. I had no idea of the history. So I would sneak on illegally like I did when we didn't own the property over there. I expected to hear a shotgun, boy, what are you doing here? Come to find out, it belonged to one of the founders of Coppin University. And that's what's so amazing. Annapolis is a city with so much history. But I always feel like we just tell one set of history from one perspective, right? And it's amazing, colonial history. I'm all about it, so cool. But really the modern history and the things that have come out of Maryland, those modern stories need to be told. And so try to imagine that there are no buildings here and there are no buildings here, but there's just white sand here. And two sisters, the Sparrow sister and the Carr sisters, decide to do a beach for African Americans, a place where African Americans can feel safe, can enjoy the water. Can you imagine the challenges that they went through just to operate that business, fund that business, get people to that business? That story will be told in a beautiful, amazing new visitor center here. The story of the Coppin family. Why did that person choose this place? Why did Frederick Douglass want to build a house on the Chesapeake Bay? Those stories can be told in this new visitor center. There's so many things that we're going to be able to talk about. And of course, the music history. Can you imagine the beautiful people that were here enjoying the water, listen to the sounds of the last decade on these beaches? Can you imagine today if Kanye West, Drake, Jay-Z came to Annapolis to play? Of course you can't imagine it because they never would. But back then, the equivalency of that caliber of artist knew where Annapolis was, came to Annapolis and enjoyed this amazing thing. It was one of their favorite things to do. James Brown was close friends with Hoppy Adams. There must have been so many stories to be told, so many exciting things that happened on this site. The acquisition of this mall property is going to be our opportunity to tell another set of history, an amazing set of history, some Annapolis cool. I'm so glad that we've come this far. And in government time, this is a land speed record. On the 22nd, January 22nd is when I stood on the beach with this and we went to work. And here we are at the beginning of 24 and we own this property. We have some great designs to replenish the beach already. And that beach is going to be beautiful and enjoyable. We're going to rehabilitate the piers here. There's going to be a 12-minute, maybe 14-minute ferry that's going to pick you up downtown. Take the residents of Bay Woods or Chesapeake Harbor downtown to enjoy all the great things there. But people can come out here and learn this history, get off at the pier, and then go back downtown as well. So, it's going to be a beautiful nature park. We're going to bring the beach back. You can see the erosion that's already happened. We need to start this as soon as possible. That septic outlet there, that used to be on the land, and now it's eroded back. So the erosion is coming. We've got a great team in place. We're going to do a great thing here. I know a lot of you know this, but Carr's Beach was on the Green Book. This is going to get national attention. It's going to be a beautiful place to come and rest, enjoy nature, hear some music every now and then. It'll be fun for all of us here. And I can't thank everybody that's here today enough. And I can't thank these people enough, my state people enough, that they've had to go back to the state. It was great that Governor Rutherford's mum used to come here. That really helped us to get that first tranche of money that was so essential from the state. But this is Team Maryland in action. We live in a beautiful place. We're very lucky. And I just can't thank you all enough. Thank you so much. Thank you. Read this book. It's really good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd also like to acknowledge Chief Kevin Simmons, Chief of Emergency Management. And we're coming close to the close of this event. But if you had anything to do with this property or the property right adjacent to it, could you please raise your hand so we could acknowledge you and thank you? And just take a look around to see who has their hands up. All right, thank you. So that way I don't think we forgot anyone.
We did forget one. We couldn't have done the money without Lisa Rodman voting for it on the county council.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. And for those of you who did not hear, our county council member, Lisa Rodman, voted yes for the money to help secure the purchase of this property. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Sure. Any questions? Yes. Timeline. Oh, just imagine. In 18 months or so, we'll visit this same location and it will be transformed from what you see here into a place where young people come to learn about the legends who performed on these beaches, the businesses that provided income and a sense of dignity to a generation of blacks, and even how to change our behavior towards the environment so that the Chesapeake Bay remains healthy well into the 21st century and beyond. So we are poised to start the shoreline and coastal restoration. We imagine within 18 months it will be complete. So there's an RFP that's going to be coming out shortly for that restoration. We are also getting ready to engage a master planner in the process as well. And Vince, the Resilience Authority and the Department of Recreation and Parks will all be together working on that. The shoreline and coastal restoration will be complete much sooner than any renovations to this property, though. We are looking forward to having an event. Can I tell them, Vince? Can I tell them, Mr. Mayor? All right, Juneteenth. Wednesday, June 19th, we are looking to have a Carr's Beach reunion with the Motown Review. We're hoping to get the Van Dykes, and we're just going to have a party. So that's what we're looking forward to. I do want to also recognize Miss Jackie Gilt here, and she is with the city of Annapolis. So thank you so much for coming too. Yes, Vince?
And AJ just said a word about why it's important to young people. Can he just say a word?
Absolutely. We love to hear from our young people. So we'll have Akil come on up. Akil will come up and have short remarks. And for those of you who don't know this gentleman, he's already places, but he's going even more places. He is the president of the Black Student Union for Annapolis High School. He's also Vince's succession plan, in case you were wondering. It's his grandson. But he is an amazing young man, and so I welcome you to the podium.
Hi, everyone. I just want to speak on behalf of the youth of Annapolis, particularly at Annapolis High School, that this project, when we were here in 2021 or 2022 for the signing ceremony, it was amazing to see that, this property from here all the way over to the sewage treatment plant in Chesapeake Harbor was once owned by Fred Carr. And just knowing that an African-American man who just got out of slavery owned 180 acres in our capital city of Annapolis here in Maryland, Anne Arundel County, it was just amazing to see. And to see that has been secured and now the more property has been secured. My new tagline in all my emails used to be thank you. Now it's onwards and upwards, and I'm kind of seeing the process in that how we're going to allow the youth to bring back into these blue and green spaces, because mental health is a big thing that is affecting us, the youth. And it's with spaces like this, through the support of the state, city, county, all of our elected officials, public servants, of us, the community members, that allow us, the youth, to have these blue and green spaces. And so I just want to say thank you to everybody who is an audience here. Your support means so much for me. I can speak as the Director of Technology for Black City Chesapeake and the youth of the city of Annapolis. That this is a monumentous day, many more to come, and I hope to see you all on Juneteenth for the Carr's Beach reunion.
See, I wasn't kidding. He's an amazing young man. And yes, it's been a long journey, but it's a journey that we must take. As we have learned from our Native American ancestors, the indigenous peoples of these United States, specifically the Iroquois, the decisions we make today should result in a sustainable world 7 generations into the future. We will now take more questions. Any others? Entire project cost. Joel, do you want to? A little bit more. This property was 1.6 and some change, and we have the actual numbers.
I know it doesn't look like it, but location.
Yes, that's correct. A little bit over 1.6. The land and the house. Yes. Vince?
As Ms. Johnson said, Dr. Paulette Moore Sr. from Coppin University purchased this in the 1940s. The last owner was Paulette Moore Jr., He was a graduate in electrical engineering from Howard University and taught at Howard University and at Morgan State University, and they called him Bo. And he had a beautiful sailboat called Sailor Wind, and he passed in April 22, and I spoke at his memorial service in May of 22. And so part of his desire and his heirs' desire was for us to lift up and amplify African-American voices from this authentic latitude and longitude. And again, thank all the partners for making that commitment a reality. All we know was we wrote the check and we didn't follow them where they went from there. And so I don't want to misspeak, but we do know the family. They work collectively and collegially, and so that's what I would share at this point.
Can I just throw in that the Little Willie Adams Foundation, who we acquired the property next door from, they're putting $200,000 of that back into the project on whatever we do here for the Visitor Center, and that will be a resource to continue. So we can tell Willie Adams' story. Willie Adams is a fascinating story for any of you who don't know. This is a young man that escaped the South, picked cotton, was a resourceful guy, learned how to pick more than the story says that, that pick more and make more money than other people around him. Then he came up to escape that to Baltimore, to the one relative that he had. He fixed bikes in Baltimore because he was resourceful, and then he would sell bikes and he made money. Then he started running numbers for some gangsters, and then he started running his own numbers. But he always invested in African American businesses. He invested in and was a partner in the first ever African American business that was floated on the stock exchange, Park Sausage. I mean, that story needs to be told. These great stories out of Baltimore. He always believed in African American entrepreneurs. We're going to be able to tell those stories in the Visitor Center here. Now, this is going to be a $4 or $5 million improvement here when we finally design with the team, with the community, what we want to see here. But we're going to be able to tell those kind of really, really interesting stories. He had two landmark cases represented with Thurgood Marshall represented him on. So really interesting, developed some of the first public housing in America, So he was a developer, he was an entrepreneur, he was a gangster. When he brought the Carr's Beach from the Sparrows and Carr's family, it was a different place then. It was a place probably where middle-class African Americans came in and enjoyed a beach holiday. But when he came, he brought slot machines and music and probably a few other things. I don't know what happened back then, but really, without Willie Adams, there's no Carr's Beach, and so it's a fascinating story, and I'm sure, hopefully, some people might know him in the audience, but I'm looking forward to learning more. So.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. All right. Well, Lipstick Mafia. Now, I didn't don you that name, but Chesapeake Harbor helped also. In case you didn't hear what Mr. Ryle said, Chesapeake Harbor also, these two ladies, and I'm sure many others, helped raise some of the funding in order to help purchase this property. So thank you. Thank you.
And Alice Estrada, thank you for letting us use the property over the road to park, and we'll be a future partner. So
yes.
We can connect the Greenway from Back Creek all the way to the Chesapeake Bay here. But I can tell you, the neighbours on either side, really, without you all, we wouldn't be here today, because you without our neighbours, Chesapeake Harbour, and without Bay Woods, really we wouldn't be here today, because you've supported this project, you've fought with me against the 42 homes here, and so that building permit was in, that was in motion, and Theo Rogers, the developer, he had a pretty good shot of that developer. So I think really I want to say a huge thank you to you all and to your community, and I'm really looking forward to designing, keeping this natural, making this better, and really, And we have a dedication at City Hall. The original Carr's Beach dedication was made possible by a donation by the Baywoods residents. So thank you all. Thank you. Yeah.
Mark Conway has a hand up.
Okay, and I'd also like to just acknowledge and thank Governor Glendenning and Mayor Kirk Schmoke, who are also neighbors and helped throughout this process too. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. With that being said, I'm getting the old cane off the around the neck. So thank you everyone for coming out, and let the work begin.
Thank you. Hold it off. Thank you, baby. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.